In the quiet desert town of Flagstaff, Arizona, David Carter had always imagined his new job would be peaceful, maybe even uneventful. The office building, a plain structure sitting at the edge of the tech park, felt normal enough when he first walked in. His desk was simple, his equipment standard, and nothing suggested anything strange. But late one evening, when most employees had already gone home, David stayed behind to finish updating a system. While adjusting an air vent above his workstation, he noticed something odd, something metallic, round, and slightly reflective. At first, he thought it was just a screw. Paragraph 2 approximately equals 100 words. But as he leaned closer, his breath caught in his throat. It wasn't a screw. It was a small lens, tucked deliberately inside the vent, pointing directly at his desk. A camera. Not part of company equipment. Not mentioned in any policy. And certainly not something an employee should unexpectedly find. A cold shiver ran down his spine as he stepped back, staring at the vent as if it were watching him. Why would anyone install a secret camera in his office? Was he being monitored? Investigated? Or was something far bigger happening inside the company than he'd been told? Paragraph 3 approximately equals 100 words. Gathering his courage, David reported the discovery to his supervisor the very next morning. He expected alarm, concern, maybe a call to security. Instead, he was met with an unreadable smile and a dismissive wave. Just focus on your work, they said, as if he had pointed out a loose cable or a smudged screen. The response felt rehearsed, too quick, and far too calm. David walked out of the office with a knot tightening in his stomach. Something was wrong, he could feel it. The building suddenly seemed less like a workplace and more like a place full of secrets. Paragraph 4 approximately equals 100 words. That evening, unable to shake the discomfort, David chose to drive home through the forest road. The route was longer but quieter, offering time to think. Soft desert winds brushed across the windshield, and the fading sunset painted the sky in deep reds. David replayed the conversation with his supervisor again and again, trying to make sense of it. Then, just as he rounded a bend near the tree line, he spotted a small shape sitting near the roadside. At first he thought it was an animal, but as he slowed down, his heart dropped. It was a child. Paragraph 5 approximately equals 100 words. The boy looked painfully thin, his clothes dusty, his eyes hollow from hunger and fear. David jumped out of the car, gently kneeling beside him. Hey, buddy, can you hear me? The child nodded weakly, unable to speak. David offered him water, which he drank desperately, his hands trembling. After a few bites of a protein bar, the boy finally whispered two broken words. My family, lost. David immediately called the local rangers, explaining the situation and requesting urgent help. While waiting, he kept the child wrapped in a spare jacket, trying to calm him as darkness started to settle. Paragraph 6 approximately equals 100 words. When the rangers arrived and took the boy into care, David stood by the roadside feeling a strange mixture of relief and worry. Who was the boy? How long had he been out there? And why was he alone in the forest? As he drove home, he couldn't stop thinking about the hidden camera and the starving child, two events that seemed completely unrelated, yet both unsettling in their own ways. David had no idea that these moments would soon collide into something far more mysterious. And he certainly didn't know that the real surprise was waiting just 4 days away. 4 days had passed since David rescued the starving child, yet the memory lingered in his mind as vividly as if it had happened only hours ago. He often wondered how long the boy had wandered alone in the woods and what fear he might have felt. Just after sunrise on the fourth morning, a gentle knock echoed through David's quiet home. The sound was soft but purposeful, not the kind delivered by a neighbor or delivery driver. Curious and slightly tense, he approached the door. The moment he opened it, he felt his breath hitch. What he saw was completely unexpected. Paragraph 2 approximately equals 100 words. Standing on his front porch were 3 Native American women, wrapped in shawls against the early morning chill. Their expressions carried exhaustion, as if they had spent days without proper rest, but behind that weariness shone unmistakable gratitude. Their presence felt calm yet deeply emotional, as though this moment held great meaning for them. One woman, slightly older than the others, stepped forward with a gentle nod. Her voice was soft but steady when she spoke, each word carefully chosen, almost ceremonial. David listened, unsure of what to expect, his heart beating faster as he waited for her explanation. Paragraph 3 approximately equals 100 words. You saved our child, she said in a warm, almost trembling voice. We came to thank you. The simplicity of her words carried a weight that struck David deeply. He suddenly realized who they were, family of the boy he had found starving on the roadside. The ranger had mentioned they lived near the reservation area, searching desperately for the missing child for days. David invited them inside, but they politely declined, preferring to speak in the open morning light. As they explained how their boy had wandered too far into the woods, David felt humbled that fate had led him to that exact place. Paragraph 4 approximately equals 100 words. As the women recounted their search efforts, David felt a growing sense of connection to these strangers. They told him how the rangers informed them that a passing stranger had saved the boy's life, and how they insisted on meeting this stranger face to face. Their gratitude was more than polite, it felt spiritual, heartfelt, and profound. Then, with careful hands, one woman reached into a small cloth pouch and drew out a wooden token. The carving was intricate, shaped with skill and tradition, worn smooth from generations of handling. She offered it to David with reverence, as though presenting a sacred family heirloom. Paragraph 5 approximately equals 100 words. David accepted the handcrafted token, feeling its weight, light, yet somehow symbolic, as if it carried stories older than anything he knew. They told him it represented courage and kindness passed from one generation to the next. For a moment, David felt a warmth spreading through his chest, a sense of being part of something meaningful. But as the women thanked him once more and began to leave, another thought crept into his mind. He couldn't ignore the memory of the hidden camera in his office. The uneasy feeling returned, reminding him of a mystery he had not yet solved. Paragraph 6 approximately equals 100 words. Standing alone on his porch as the women walked away, David found himself staring at the wooden token, turning it slowly between his fingers. The morning sun bathed the world in soft gold, yet beneath that beauty he sensed something deeper unfolding. Why had management reacted so strangely about the camera? Why did they want him silent? And why did all of this happen within the same week he saved the child? The timing gnawed at him. He couldn't shake the feeling that the camera, his job, and the boy's rescue were somehow connected. This wasn't the end, this felt like the beginning.